Good day, ladies and gentlemen. The AR-15. What more is there really to say about the AR-15? I mean, come on. It's already conquered all of the United States. Everybody in the world wants one of these bloody things. So why am I going to waffle on about this for about 15 minutes? 2 MOA. That's why. I've never shot that good with a rifle before. And I've got a lot of rifles. And yet the AR-15 still outshot almost all of them. It outshot all of them. The AR, you know, everybody's got one. People say how great they are, all these historical designs, and yet the AR-15 just dominates. You know, I didn't even want an AR-15. All I wanted was an AK. And I got one, and it's great. But I have to say, the AR-15 kind of outshot this. But we'll talk about why it outshot the AK in a moment. The AR-15 was originally designed in the 1950s by Eugene Stoner, originally chambered in 7.62 NATO, aka 308. It would be scaled down by Jim Sullivan to the 5.56 NATO cartridge, and pretty much it would remain in 5.56 NATO to this day. There are some variants here and there, and we'll discuss them later on in the video, but most AR-15s you find, in fact, I'd probably say a good 90%, going to be 5.56. What's 5.56, you might ask? Well, it's 223. Well, actually, it's not, because 223 and 5.56 have different leads, and it's generally unwise to shoot 5.56 in a 223 chamber, which is kind of a moot point because pretty much every single AR-15 is going to be chambered in 5.56 anyway. But the fact is, 5.56 is a small-bore, high-velocity cartridge that is very good at many things, but barrier penetration is not one of them, whereas the AK is. But the fact is, the AR-15 is a semi-automatic rifle that uses what is called the internal piston system. What is that, you might ask? Well, let's take a look. This is what's called the bolt carrier group. You've got a gas tube right here that takes the propellant gases, puts it into that little bolt carrier group. There's an internal piston in there, and that's what actuates the action. It's a pretty slick and pretty novel concept, to say the least. Eugene Stoner was way ahead of the curve back then. The AK, by contrast, uses a fairly basic long-stroke gas system, which is reliable, but it increases weight. And that's one of the great aspects of the AR-15. It is a very light rifle when compared to just about everything else. Now, what we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is a variant of the AR-15. This is the What Would Stoner Do inspired rifle. What Would Stoner Do was a project undertaken by Ian McCollum of Forgotten Weapons and Carl Casarda of In Range. They wanted to create an advanced version of the AR-15. They wanted to basically create a AR-15 that was lightweight but still reliable. There are many, souped up, slicked up 3-gun AR-15s that are very light, but outside of the 3-gun environment, they're kind of crap. What they wanted to do was to have a lightweight gun that would be good in just about any environment, even 3-gun. And ultimately, what they came up with, and what really kind of, I don't know if it changed the firearms community, but it certainly added to it. What they created was this. This is the What Would Stoner Do, or rather the KP-15 monolithic polymer lower. Now, what a monolithic polymer lower is you have the lower receiver here, the stock, and the pistol grip all one unit. And this dramatically reduces the weight because your traditional AR-15 will have an aluminum lower receiver, a aluminum extension tube for the stock, which is where the bolt carrier group will go into when the rifle actuates, and its own separate pistol grip, which, while not necessarily heavy, does add to the overall weight of the firearm. By doing this, it's all one unit, and thus they can shave off quite a few ounces. Now, when it comes to a long arm, every ounce counts. If you have a heavier lower receiver, piling all this crap on will definitely make you have a very, very heavy rifle. The United States Marine Corps actually has their AR-15s come in at a whopping 14 pounds. This rifle, by contrast, does not come in that much at all. It's a very light boy. So, The KP-15 lower was designed by a guy named Russell Fagan. If you frequent Gun Jesus or In-Range TV, he does show up from time to time, and he is a kick-ass competition shooter. Now, what he basically has built upon was a number of years of polymer lower development. Colt themselves actually designed a polymer lower in the 1970s. In the early 2000s, a company called Cav Arms created a polymer lower that worked well enough, but did have some failure points and did have some parts breakage and was not compatible with PMags. What Russell Fagan did was basically build upon all of that and make one that, works. That does take PMags. By having a lightweight polymer lower, you can have all kinds of stuff on your rifle while keeping the rifle at a manageable weight. And so this rifle right here, with ammunition, weighs about 6.5 pounds, which is actually the same weight as the AK unloaded. And the AK doesn't have a flashlight, bipod, or front grip. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there is a there, a very good there. Now, one of the great aspects of the AR-15 is its modularity. Now, it's not the only rifle to be modular, but due to its popularity, both in the United States and abroad, many companies manufacture parts for this rifle. Now, this is a very easy rifle to be modular, as it has dedicated upper and lower receivers. We have the upper receiver here that has the bolt carrier group in the barrel. We have the lower receiver here that has the fire control group and the magazine well. And that's, of course, where the pistol grip and stock attach to. Now, other firearms do have that same arrangement, the FNFAL and the Beretta ARX-100, but, well, no one really cares about those rifles that much anymore, and, well, more companies manufacture stuff for this, so it can be modular. Now, due to this modularity, many of these lowers will be called multi-caliber. Now, there's a lot of different AR-15 variant calibers that can still use the same lower receiver. Now, you, of course, cannot use 308 in a low receiver design for a 5.56 rifle, but what you can do is use calibers such as 300 Blackout, 224 Valkyrie, and a bunch of what effectively are Gucci calibers. 300 Blackout's the most popular one, and it is basically 7.62x3.9, but more optimized for suppressors. One danger of 300 Blackout, though, is it can chamber in a 5.56 rifle and promptly blow it up. So if you're going to swap between calibers, make damn sure you know what you're swapping to, otherwise kablooey. So the AR-15 is also very popular due to its ergonomics. Now, if you're not familiar with the AR-15, and I wasn't when I first got into the platform, it'll seem a bit intimidating. It's sort of like, if you hand somebody a revolver, that's pretty easy to figure out. If you hand somebody an AK, everything on it generally makes sense. But, like if you hand somebody a semi-automatic pistol, they're not going to really know what to do. And sometimes they'll even try to put the bullets in backwards. Yes, I've seen it, and yes, it's very cringe. Now, when you hand somebody an AR-15, it's a weird rifle. It's like, where's the charging handle? What is this thing on the side? Where's the magazine release? It's very difficult, especially when you compare it to the AK. You've got this nice charging handle. The magazine release is right here. You rock and lock. This is easy to figure out for someone who's never used a firearm. AR-15, on the other hand, where's the charging handle? Why is it back here? What's that? But once you finally figure it out, it's a rifle where you can basically reload the rifle without having to take it out of your shoulder. You pop in a mag, and right on the right-hand side, you've got a spring bolt release. That is an excellent design. But, ladies and gentlemen, it is a trade-off. Kalashnikov, when he designed his rifle, or when his team and him designed that rifle, didn't want there to be a bolt hold open because he was worried about mud, dirt, and other crap getting into the gun. Whereas this is designed to be quick and easy to get back into the fight. And which is the better option? Hard to say. For me, I would say, seeing as how I'm not trying to do battle in a dust storm, and instead the worst thing I have to worry about is keeling over from heat exhaustion outside, just being able to hit a bolt release, very nice indeed. Now, on this lightweight upper, we have what is called an M-LOK handguard. Now, when AR-15s were first envisioned, they didn't have that. It was just a fiberglass handguard. Now, M-LOK, was one of 3 formats that waged a format war for some time. You initially had what was called 1913 rail. This is 1913 rail, ladies and gentlemen. This is generally what you will attach your optics to. Well, imagine taking this and putting it at the end of the gun. Very heavy, but also very durable, especially when compared to M-LOK. There was also another format called Keymod, and the reason why it ended up failing in the face of both 1913 rail and M-LOK was Keymod just wasn't quite as durable as M-LOK and 1913 rail. Now, what M-LOK rails allow you to do is easily mount all your crap to your gun. It's just a standard mounting system, and it's very quick and easy to do. Now, since this rifle is so lightweight, I can put a lot of stuff on this rifle. Flashlight we have here is just from Amazon. It's a Feiachi flashlight, fairly inexpensive, but very durable. It is held up to a wide variety of rounds being sent through this rifle. We have a Strike Industries front grip, which is very comfortable and very, very ergonomic. Front grips are often seen as, you know, the purview of the tactical crowd. As for me, the tactical stuff is not something I really go in for, but when doing target transitions, having a front grip really does make the rifle that much more controllable, and it does serve a practical purpose. Now, what we have here is a bipod, ladies and gentlemen, and this bipod might seem a bit conspicuous, but the reality is, this bipod actually serves a legitimate purpose, and that purpose is to provide a stable firing platform for the rifle. With this bipod, you can pull off much better shots, and you can do target transitions even faster than when just using the front grip and moving it offhand. One of the great aspects of having a light rifle is you can put more stuff on your rifle, including a bipod, without weighing yourself down too much. Now, the bipod is, of course, just an inexpensive Amazon.com bipod. It comes highly reviewed and is essentially a Chinese copy of a much more expensive Harris bipod. Now, we, of course, have our Magpul backup iron sights. These Magpul backup iron sights are fairly inexpensive compared to other types of sights. They are based upon the M16A2 sights. And you can tell that because this has a highly adjustable rear sight. It's often been debated as to whether or not highly adjustable rear sights are that necessary in terms of combatives, but for the civilian shooter, the more adjustable, the better. Now, for the optic, we have a Holosun HS4038. This is a optic from 2017, and I have to say, in some of my earlier gun videos, I talked about getting inexpensive optics. The fact is, back then I had no money, and all I had known was inexpensive optics, and to be honest, inexpensive optics just are not worth it. You pay $50 for an optic off of Amazon, and if it's complete garbage, you just wasted $50. Primary Arms makes very nice, inexpensive optics, and their most inexpensive red dot sight costs about $80. So you do the math. Pay a few extra dollars and get a real optic. Holosun is more expensive than some of the Primary Arms offerings, but the Holosun here has a little better optical clarity, and if you can get this on sale, I highly recommend it. One of the cool little features of this optic is the fact that the turret protection caps here actually have a little screwdriver built into them, so you can easily adjust your optics in the field, which is very good to say the least, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the trigger we have in this rifle is a Palmetto State Armory enhanced polished trigger. It's a fairly inexpensive upgrade and is far better than mil-spec. For me, I don't really go in for match-grade triggers because I'm not trying to get absolute match-grade accuracy, and I'm certainly not using match-grade ammunition. So I just want a nice, consistent trigger, and the trigger on this rifle is nothing short of exceptional for the price that you pay. Now then, this rifle is not compatible with every AR-15 magazine on the market. What we have here are Magpul Generation 3 magazines, and this is what is recommended to be used with this rifle among Lancers and steel mags. The difference between a Magpul Gen 3 and a Lancer is Lancers will have metal reinforcement, whereas this does not. Magpul Gen 3s are fairly inexpensive and very common, and I also chose this particular mag because this is what's used by the United States Marine Corps. Today, we're going to be putting this rifle to the test. We're going to be showing 3 different range trips. Range trip the first, we're taking IMI 55 grain ammunition, and we're going to be shooting a grand total of 60 rounds. Then we're going to go to the range again, and we're going to be shooting 80 rounds of Wolf Gold 5.56 55 grain. Now, the first 2 range trips are going to be at 25 yards, but the final range trip will be at 100, and we're going to be shooting 80 cartridges again, but we're going to be shooting formerly super cheap Monarch ammunition. Monarch is the ammo that sadly was sold by Academy, and that, of course, is 55 grain steel case. Why are we using steel case at the 100? Because I want to showcase that steel case ammo is actually good. Today, in the space year 2021, people still like to say, steel case will blow the gun up, or that it's inaccurate or unreliable. So with that, let's load her up and have some fun. you see why I put a big bloody bipod on the end of this gun. That bipod is nothing short of exceptional. It allows you to pull off good shots. It allows you to shoot quickly. It really is a must-have accessory for any AR-15. This trigger, nothing short of exceptional as well. It's got that nice crisp reset, and it's just, oh, so sexy. I probably could have got better accuracy with a match-grade trigger, but then again, match-grade triggers do have an issue with setting off hard Russian primers, which sadly, thanks to the current administration, may not be an issue anymore. But when it was, you definitely wanted a trigger that could do that because, well, this is supposed to be a do-it-all rifle, and if it can't do the Russians, oh my, then what good is it? So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's why the AR-15 is so popular. You saw that accuracy, you saw that recoil impulse, you saw how the manual of arms, when you actually know how to do them, how good they really are. The AR-15 deserves the popularity it has, I guess. I feel bad for all of you who love the ARX-100. I mean, that is kind of a sexy rifle, I guess, if you're into Italians. But yeah, AR-15, it just does it. In my experience, Palmetto State Armory has been very much worth the price of admission. And I cannot recommend Palmetto State Armory enough. Wait for the deals, and you can get a high-quality rifle for a very low price. The only thing that might be a bit of a downside with Palmetto State Armory is, of course, the barrel life. You only have 10,000 rounds, but if you shoot 1,000 rounds a year, which is quite a few rounds for just the average civilian, that's going to last you 10 years. And then you replace it with either a new upper or get it rebarreled. The KP-15 lower is a pretty nice lower. I would like it if the stock was a little longer, but you get used to it, and I like the weight savings. The pistol grip, while not as good as, say, a Magpul grip, it's more than good enough. It certainly didn't hamper my accuracy in any event, and I like the weight savings so that I can have a bipod. All told, the what would Stoner do concept is something that I'm glad was invented, and there is a there if you want a very lightweight rifle that is still accurate, still reliable, and you don't have to worry about it flying apart when it's not being used during a 3-gun competition. So, I am General Lotz, wishing you a good AR-15, and I'm not picking up that AK because that bloody thing's heavy. AK-47, whatever, makes you happy. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and please consider leaving a like or a comment, as the algorithm desires your soul. And I want to thank all those fans who have supported this channel, both past and present.